Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is not a drill.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome, and thank you for stopping by. Let me get this hooked up here. Thank you for stopping by the 381st. If you're keeping track, you're going, wait a minute, shouldn't this be the 382nd? But yeah, that was such a train wreck the other night, Thursday night, I think it was, trying to get ready. So we're just going to scrap that. We're going to erase it. Almost certainly erasing it from my memory. So welcome to what now will be the 381st episode of the number one rated show here on IPMNation.com. Of course, I'm talking about All Natural Being and the Gong. As you just heard, the Gong heard around the world broadcast as it happens thanks to our good friends at Telestream's Wirecast right here at IPMNation.com. What is it that's driving me nuts about this? Maybe it's the phone volume. IPMNation.com, multicast live over here on Facebook, allnaturalbeing.com, and at least one half of the two of the Brian Brawdy apps, but we'll get to that a little later. However you come to hang with us, we're always pumped to have you live from the Transitional Radio Uplink radio family that just keeps growing in leaps and bounds over on IPM Nation. But we're here in Columbus, Ohio. As always, we rebroadcast our little get-together. I guess you could call it a podcast at that point, but it's a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, all the usual suspects. But however it plays out, greetings, wherever you are, here in the Garden of the Mortals, the labyrinth of life itself, your shot at running the table, at leveling out as you see fit. And you don't need permission from anyone. It's in your blood. Now, you and I, from time to time, we just have to get our minds to remember that it's in our blood. But that's why we're here, to be your amnesia buster. If you're suffering from opaque, we're here to be your friendly blue force, always putting your heart's highest priority top of the list, reinstalling and reinstating the true wit and wisdom and wallop of your inner whisper, because it's got a wallop if you listen to it. Rebooting your robust, finding your ferocious, commencing your counterpunch, all in time to out-brutal the brutal. That is the cut and shuffle that fate can deal you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold once and for all. I've made mention of the fact that someone asked me, how do you see this as left of bang, a pre-tipping point, if you will? And I quoted Malcolm Gladwell. There's a storm brewing, very simply. There's one coming. And for those of us that learn how to bring our own bowl, to square our shoulders, we're the ones that are going to do, you're the ones that are going to do the best in whatever fate has to offer. And that's why I think it's so important to remember to bring your own bold. But before we hit it this evening, hello to my friends here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK. Oh, I got to stretch. Oh, UK. Those are my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Nigeria, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Thailand, Belgium, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, Egypt and Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands, Iran, Colombia, Greece, Ireland, Argentina, Peru, Austria, Poland, to those joining us from all over the globe. I'm getting ready to say all 190 some odd for the 81 to win. It's great to have you with us, and I truly am fired up today to be driving your bandwagon, to be your virtual hitchhiker if you're out and about on the go. And I love riding shotgun because I have the opportunity to hang with you. So what are we waiting for? Speaking of opportunities, here's our opportunity to mortal up. Because I believe it's time for you to love the way you think. It's time to be your all-natural being. You want to manifest something? Let's manifest that. And let's go kick in some doors in the process. Thank you all so very much. If you happen to tune in a little earlier, we were over on the new show, IPMNation.com/TR now for Transitional Radio, the new show, a Sneak Speak, where we get to interview Matt Connerton from IPMNation.com and a really cool author or a radio show host, I guess is what I meant to say. And tonight it was Dr. Kevin. Really enjoyed catching up and learning a little bit about him and his show and what his viewers can expect. So that was a blast. It's going to be every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on IPMNation.com/TR now, as I mentioned. Also, I wanted to make mention of the fact that this week, we're going to be, what are we going to do? We're going to be broadcasting Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, getting ready for the big day on Friday. And then it is our goal, ultimately I thought, I would love to come back Sunday night, but we think we might have to, we'll wait and see. Maybe, we'll get to 380 some odd. But we may have to take Sunday night off, but obviously we'll keep you abreast of everything that goes on with the surgery and, that kind of thing. But this evening, what I wanted to talk about Sunday night, kind of getting ready to launch your week, is this new understanding. And it really is for me somewhat new because I've gotten to the point where, given some of the different things that I've been subject to over the last couple of years, Matt and I were talking about it just a little bit ago, but I wanted to try to find a way of summarizing, you know what I mean? Because although I joke about it and everything else, I'm still, I think I'm still aware of the fact that I want to be able to have my mind focused pre and post surgery on kind of like a line in the sand of a signpost, so that I'll have some sense pre and post of where I stand. Did the fourth brain surgery in 3 years do anything to compromise those things that I feel the deepest about? And that's what I wanted to talk about this evening. But first, let me say hello to John and to Jamie. Thank you so very much for joining us. Also to Mary and to Joe, together again. Very nice. Thank you for joining us. Candace, greetings and salutations, Mary, to you as well. Brett Kranz, good evening, Brian. Trust all is good as possible. And it always is, Brett. It always is. Mortal up. Thank you very much for that. Hello, Wayne. How about habitual? Hello, Henry and Lee. Thank you so very much. Hello, Ted. Jamie's here. Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. And this evening, we're going to talk about the difference. And it's a very subtle difference, when we talk about the yin-yang, when we talk about what it is that happens in the human mind, and it comes down to, I believe, one of only two things. You can work to block the breach. Remember, our old friend Bill Shakespeare said, into the breach or unto the breach, dear friends. You and I can work at blocking the breach, and then number two is playing to our strengths, or we see all around us what's happening when we block our strengths and play to our breach. So human beings are designed, obviously we have senses, right? We're designed to take everything, arguably you could call it in, right? Whether we're one with our surroundings, as you know, I believe we are. But at the micro level, we're designed to use our senses to take some sense in. So there's got to be a breach where we wouldn't be able to see, we wouldn't be able to smell, we wouldn't be able to touch, we wouldn't be able to hear, right? All the different senses. So we have to be permeable to a certain degree. There has to be a breach in order for us just to make it through the day. But we're talking about a breach where you allow yourself to be bullied, where you are either bullied from someone on the outside, or you ever do this, you're guilty of bullying yourself with just like when people talk all the negative self-talk and this and that. Are you bullying yourself? Brother Wallman, good evening. Thank you for joining us. He's getting the shunt removed on the 21st. Yes, I am. No, actually, getting the shunt removed on the 14th, I believe, coming up. So it's this coming Friday. So yeah, 9 to 5 days from getting the shunt removed. So I'm pretty excited about that. Thank you very much for the reminder, John. We're talking this evening about, do you do what you can to block the breach and play to your strengths? Or is fate beating you down to such a degree that you block your strengths and you play to the breach? We want a thumbs up, right? We want our stuff tweeted. We want to have our numbers. We want to have, when we talked before about the committee vote, when we talked before about consumerism, we want everyone on the outside. We want all the baubles and the bling and this and that. So is it possible that you block your strengths and play to the breach? And that's what we're talking about. Oh, wow, it's this Friday. Yes, John, it is. Very excited about it. As Mary said, you'd be senseless. Exactly. So some of the breach, Mary, right? We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Some of the breach is necessary. But I think because it's necessary, we get so far into it, we go, well, then we're just balsa wood, right? When it comes to spines, there's nothing, we don't have any rebar left in terms of a spine. We've all become balsa wood. Our skin has become paper mache. You've heard me say countless times in the past. Hot heads wrapped in thin skin. And I think if you look around in terms of all the propaganda from wherever you're getting it, right? Not just teaming up on the media, but politicians, the priestly class, consumerism, all that, where they play to you having thin skin because they want it to be that you always think you need more. You always want more baubles, more bling, more trinkets, more thumbs up, more shares, more whatnot. But ultimately, our life comes down, and this is what I'm thinking about as I get ready for Friday. Our life comes down, Shakespeare was right, unto the breach, right? When he talks about it's fine for good men and good women, I'm sure he meant, but good men and good women to have a very humble, just status quo kind of life until the drums of war, right? Then you got to channel your inner tiger. Then you've got to bring the sinew and the muscle, and you've got to bring it to be, as I say all the time, to be your ferocious, to out-brutal the brutal. Remember, yes, we have to block the breach and then play to our strengths. But we've been taught, and we've learned, maybe through repetition, to block our strengths and play to the breach. Play into the breach. It's no way to go. It's a good way to let all kinds of different philosophical diseases in. Henry says, once you are willing to breach, you discover an amazing world out there. Yeah, at some point, I would agree with you. I guess tomato, right? Some of the breach is good. Some of the other breach isn't good, I would imagine. Kathy says, LOL, I thought something changed and I missed it about the surgery. No, thank you, Kathy. It's going to be this Friday. He confuses me sometimes. Candace, you're absolutely right. You ought to be in my brain. Block the breach. Play to your strengths. Enough of you is perforated. Enough of us has to take in some different things. And then maybe Henry's right. Maybe you get to a certain point where you can court the breach because you've gotten so good at drawing the line and knowing where your inner sense of protection is. Maybe you can at that point. But for some of us, blocking the breach is the way to go, playing to your strengths. And let me ask you, what are some of yours? Brother Woman, all you having it done at Shunts and Things in the mall. That's pretty good. Yeah, Shunts and Things, I call it the Columbus Cranium Shack. But yes, it'll be coming out sometime on Friday. And then they want me to sleep for a while and I'm not allowed to drive, which is great because I love being chauffeured anyways. I don't like driving. But let's focus for a second on playing to your strengths. What are your strengths? What is your heart's highest priority? Jamie and I were talking not too long ago, right? If you could put the bottom of your heart on the top of your mind, what would it be? And I think as we've discussed before, you're a unique set of DNA. You're a unique set of muscle and sinew and blood and philosophy. So what are your strengths? Joseph says to know your boundaries. Absolutely true. And then again, I guess you could say, like in Henry says, when you court the breach, then you can go, okay, here are my boundaries. I'll let the breach in to this degree. And then, it's just biology at that point. You got to let vision in. You got to let sound in. But when you hear all this time about, that was inappropriate, or he said something that was offensive, or she said something to trigger me, inappropriate language is a function of faulty ears. If you don't want to hear something inappropriate in it, then you simply don't. Good evening, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us as David Ray Bowman is here as well. Thank you so much, David Ray. We're talking this evening about what it takes to play to your strengths. Not playing to your breach, not playing to where everyone is able to get in and convince you that you should be living life your way, but absolutely playing to your strengths. Henry says his is knowing the strength of the energy self. Absolutely true. Joseph says just because you like football doesn't mean you play on a professional level. Absolutely, Joseph. Absolutely. But I believe that there is a sense, as Henry says, mine is knowing the strength of the energy self. Then up until you get to that point where you know the strength of the energy self, you got to block the breach. You got to watch, because other people are all too willing for you to adopt their energy. And if you don't think this is true, then walk into a room where everyone's smiling and laughing. Pretty soon you find yourself smiling and laughing. Walk into a room where everyone's crying and down. You find yourself modeling that same behavior. And then again, I guess I could also say that when you play to your strengths, what is it that you love? What is it that quickens your heart? What is it that you love doing, no matter whether you think you're good at it or not? What is it that you know quickens your pulse? And if you're busy playing to those strengths, and I believe every human being has one, if you're busy playing to those strengths, I don't think there's time to focus on the breach. You've built this bubble. You know, one of my sons came home from school the other day and he said they're working on my personal space bubble. I love that. Personal space bubble for a 5-year-old. So what's your personal space bubble? Maybe that's what Henry's talking about when he says his is knowing the strength of the energy self. Maybe that's the space bubble, the personal space bubble that they're teaching. Maybe that's it. What's yours? Where is your line, as Joseph said? Where's your line that you're not going to allow anyone to trespass? You're not going to allow anyone into your mind with their spray paint cans ready to set up all kinds of graffiti. Maybe ultimately that's it. When we play to our strength, there's no time left to focus on the breach. Someone asked me again today, to highlight, given everything that you've gone through and given now that the neurosurgeons, kind of say, well, we realize now that your shunt probably malfunctioned for the last year. And I got to tell you, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I think ultimately, whatever it is, the decoding of that strength may not be a huge strength right now, right? But the decoding of what it is absolutely has to encompass this brain tumor, right? It wasn't a golf ball-sized tumor of the heart. Didn't lose my passion. Jamie says, stop the people-pleasing for me. Henry says, I know the limits of my physical self. My energy self has no limits. How very true. And I would say that your physical self and your energy self, at least at that level, Henry, doesn't even believe in a physical self. But for the rest of us, subject to the breach, as Jamie says, stop the people-pleasing for me. Well, ultimately, Jamie, we have to look at people-pleasing and go, we attempt to please other people because we want them to think better of us. But what if we were to say, no matter what fate does, no matter what the community does, or the committee vote, maybe that's a better way of putting it, no matter what the committee vote does in our lives, that we're going to rise to the occasion, no matter what. We're going to play to our strengths. We're going to block the breach, all the negativity, all the criticism. And I think when you look at it now, people say, oh, I was triggered. Oh, I was offended. Talking about not blocking the breach. To let those kind of things in and ruin your day, to let that vitriol in to rattle around in your own brain. So for me, as I said, with Friday coming up, it's will I have that same understanding on the other side of the surgery, coming out believing that you have two options. And I'll repeat them again. Block the breach, play to your strengths, or for other people who have grown quite comfortable playing to the breach and therefore blocking their strengths. So what are yours? John says you got to rewire the belief systems. There you go. John Joseph, you have to know when to walk away. I would absolutely agree, Joseph. Absolutely agree. And even if you can't, there are some times where you can't walk away. You know where your line is. You know where you're not going to be breached. You know what it's going to take to be able to rise to any occasion no matter what happens to you. Do it with a smile on your face, doing it knowing that, like all times people go, oh, I wanted to go to the ball game today, but it rained. Or I wanted to go to the mall, but the traffic was horrific. Or I wanted to do A, B, C, or D, but then E, G, E, and F happened. Or you could just say, wow, it worked out pretty good. Whatever it was I had intended to do, which is why I talk about in this particular moment in all of time, magnifying whatever the moment has to offer. Then you could say, yeah, I was going to go out and eat in the park, but it rained, so I ended up having a really cool lunch somewhere else. I ended up doing something else that was really cool, that was really meaningful to me. As Joseph says, you have to know when to hold them. And continuing on with the song, you got to know when to fold them. And I would think, playing to your strengths, maybe that's a hand you never fold. No matter what happens, no matter how bleak it looks, no matter how bad it looks, you get up and you're thankful that you're still here to be even able to hold a hand. Whatever it is that fate deals you, you and I can get to the point where we go, yeah, great. Yeah, it didn't turn out the way I had planned. But yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow, I feel no evil. And you can look at it that way. And you can say, yeah, it may not have turned out the way I thought it would this morning at 8 a.m., but the day unfolded pretty cool the way it did without my manipulation. Right? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. We hear that in Judeo-Christian prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. It's not like thy will, but, can I get a byline, right? Can I get a subtitle? Can I kind of rework that a little bit? But to be able to stand and say, yeah, whatever you deal me, I'm going to take it. Whatever comes, that's going to be it. Hi, Marie. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. Whatever is supposed to unfold, whatever happens to me, whatever fate does in the attempt to chop block me, I'm going to come back with a counterpunch. And it is that very simple, and it never deviates. Putting your heart's highest priority, top of the list. It's not an invitation to be narcissistic. It's not an invitation to be selfish. It's not an invitation to be hedonistic. But as I say all the time, a 20-minute victory, 1/72nd of your day. What could you do for 20 minutes to put your heart's highest priority top of the list? Because then you give other people permission to do the same thing. What would that look like? And to you, Kathy, God bless you as well. Joseph says, fight for another day. Learn from life's lessons. And I think that's what it means, Joseph, to be in a labyrinth. It's a labyrinth of lessons. I think I said maybe earlier today or yesterday on Facebook that when you make your mistakes, the master of this particular moment and all of time, it gives you a certain might. When you learn in this particular moment from your mistakes and go, I sure don't want to do that again. That's when fate can't throw anything at you. If everything, as Joseph says, is an attempt to learn from life's lessons, if everything, as Henry says, is to be able to learn the difference, the limits of the physical self, and that the energy self has no limits, to be able to learn that lesson. And how is it that is it that the universe is trying to teach you in each particular moment in time, that the energy self ultimately has no limits? The physical self, you'd have to say that. You get up, you end up with a bad back, bad knees, bad ankles. You wake up one day with a brain tumor. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do about the physical limits, but your energy limits, your philosophical. When I talk all the time about cognitive Kevlar, right? Cognitive Kevlar. What are you doing to block the breach? Don't let the philosophical projectiles of other people ruin your day. There's all kinds of reasons to give up on yourself. There's all kinds of reasons to think that life sucks. There's all kinds of reasons to go, I'm just done. I don't have it in me anymore to battle. And I think that rock bottom is the perfect launching pad. And hopefully you're not at rock bottom. In the same breath, hopefully you're not playing to your breach and blocking your strengths. All right, tomorrow night, I'm very excited. Lee Rowley from Sales Copy Academy will be here in the studios with us. We've got a couple different things we're introducing, so we're very excited for that. Wayne, if you are out there, yes, Joseph, I would agree. You need a strong soul. Absolutely agreed. Candace says to sort out the fake. And I would say that strong soul is where Henry says he knows his energy self has no limits. And maybe feeling that energy self to be limitless is, in fact, the definition of a strong soul. Not for me to say. You all find out. We all find out on our own. As I started to say, tomorrow night, Lee Rowley from Sales Copy Academy will be here in the studio. We've got a big announcement for that as well. And then again, Thursday night, my last broadcast prior to Friday morning will be Thursday night, I guess 8:30, 9 o'clock. We'll be doing another episode of Copy That Speaks with Lee Rowley. So I'm very excited about that. Jamie says more love, less hate. And I would agree, Jamie, more self-love, more self-love, less self-hate, and then we can work on spreading more love and less hate to the outer world. But you learn how to do it yourself. Dr. Kevin asked me a question earlier. He goes, well, how long is it every day before you look in the mirror? What time of the morning? I go, look, built like I am, I try to wait till mid-afternoon at least. I try to brush my teeth in the dark with my eyes closed. But I think what he was trying to say, Jamie, is that you can look and make sure that you have more love and less hate for yourself before you even get out and interact with other people. Jen, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Of course I am out here. Wayne, thank you very much. Could you go ahead and put up the link for Thinking Re-Envisioned coming up here? Oh, about 3 minutes. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, our good friend Henry Noel. And I think he's talking, let me go back to his text here. If he's talking about the difference between a physical self and his energy self has no limits, I bet you that's a bit of a precursor as to what he's talking about this evening. Henry says, absolutely, Brian. So there you go. Jamie says, yes, good point. Wayne will put up, if you will, in the thread, the link over to Henry's show here in just a couple minutes. So that's the thought that I would like you to leave you with tonight. Yeah, we're nothing but a big bag of breach, right? That's how the senses are built. But at some point we have to say, no, my silly putty, my fix-a-flat, right? My spackle, my whatever you call it, is the fact that I will focus on my strengths. Because if you're here, you have them. If you were born here, that unique combination of DNA, blood, and spit, it's in you. So what are you going to do? Everyone, the big talk now, I'm going to manifest this. I'll manifest that. I'll do this. I'll do that. What's in a manifest? Right? Other than your unique combination of those three things, DNA, blood, and spit. What are you going to do? Don't give in. Don't play to the breach. People are going to be furious with you for wanting to put your heart's highest priority top of the list. And for no small reason, because they don't have the courage enough to do it themselves. So of course they're going to try to drag you down. I talk about these human Venus fly traps, right? Walking, talking pits of quicksand that will do anything they can to keep you in check, because it gives them permission to be vapid. It gives them permission to be dull and boring and apathetic and lazy. It gives them permission. If they can drag more people into the pot with them, then they go, then I vote be abnormal. Everyone says, are you excited about being back to normal? No, I hope that what comes out of Friday is whatever they've taken from me, they'll leave my abnormality. If they go, we're cutting this there. What's that? That's where his abnormality is in his brain. For God's sakes, leave that there. That's the last thing he would want us to take out of him. Thank you, Henry, very much, as you are to me, brother. You are one great example, and I admire that for you, as I do for you, Henry. John, thank you so very much. Stop, take a deep breath, and move forward. I like it. Joseph is a Wayne wannabe. Says, I love you all. He's giving me all the looks. Have a great week. So I'll end on that note. Thank you so very much for joining me back here tomorrow night with our good friend Lee Rowley in the studios. Don't forget, now you're just like 45 seconds away from Thinking Re-Envisioned with my philosophical shot of anti-venom, the incomparable Henry G. Noel. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here so I can hit a call time now that everybody's watching. Have an absolutely fantastic evening. Drop me a line if you need anything, and we will see you tomorrow night. Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being.